This video is sponsored by Soundpeats.
How's Grant here, and welcome back to another camera comparison with the Vivo X70 Pro Plus. Today I have it up against not just two of the most popular smartphone cameras of the year, but two of the most popular smartphones period of 2021, the iPhone 13 Pro Max and Galaxy S21 Ultra. And so this will be a bit of a holiday edition. There's a lot of nice lights and decorations around town this time of the year. So I took a bunch of photos and videos of all that, so you can kind of see that in a bit of a change up from my usual photos and videos that I normally take on the channel for these camera comparisons. So hopefully you enjoy that. And for those of you who celebrate the holidays this time of year, I hope you have a great Christmas and hope your families are staying safe and that all of you have a very great holiday season. And so with that being said, go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. And I'll come back at the end and give my final thoughts on this.
Now for a word from our sponsor, Soundpeats, and their new Air 3 True Wireless Earbuds featuring 14.2mm drivers for a nice, wide sound. They have an open ear design, so they fit comfortably in your ears for long periods of time without any fatigue. They're also ultra compact and lightweight for easy portability, and are powered by the Qualcomm QCC3040 chipset with aptX adaptive sound. They support in-ear detection for pausing your audio when removing them from your ear, and resuming playback when placing them back in. Tap controls also allow you to control the volume, as well as move to the next or previous tracks. There are 4 microphones for clear call quality, along with CVC 8.0 noise cancelling for reduced background noise. Great for hands-free conference calls in this work-from-home environment, or for catching up with friends and family. You'll enjoy 5 hours of playback per charge, with 17.5 hours in total with the charging case. The Air 3 buds also support game mode with a triple tap on the left bud for low latency audio to ensure you always hear the action in real time without audio lag. They come in black or white and retail for $49.99. Be sure to check the video description for a 10% off discount code as well. I'd like to thank Soundpeats for their partnership and sponsoring this video. Now back to the camera comparison. Hey everyone, so here's a real video test from the iPhone 13 Pro Max, Vivo X70 Pro Plus, and Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. As you can see right there, they all are recording from the rear-facing cameras right now at 4K 30 frames per second, and this is the ultra-wide-angle lens on all 3 cameras here. So I'll just go ahead and pan around to give you a feel for how these ultra-wide-angle cameras compare amongst all 3. You can pay attention to what the color reproduction looks like and how they might differ on each of these cameras here. And so let's go ahead and start moving into the main lens on each. All right, so here we go with the main lens on each of these 3 phones. The X70 Pro Plus on the Vivo doesn't let you switch lenses while we're actively recording, so I had to stop and switch the lenses here. iPhone and the Galaxy S21 Ultra, you can switch cameras while actively recording. So I'll just pan around to give you a feel for what these main camera sensors here look like and how they compare, again, with the color reproduction and everything with the greens, the blues, and some of the fading fall colors in the background there. Let's go ahead and pan over here to the right and let's test zoom on that cell tower. So we've got 3 times telephoto there on the iPhone, 2 times on the Vivo, and then again 3 times here optical. We can get there, let me see if we can get there on the S21 Ultra. There we go. And then we can move into I think this one goes to max, let's see, 9 times digital on the iPhone. And then of course we can move into a 10 times max digital here on the Vivo. And then there is a 10 times optical periscope zoom on the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and it can go all the way up to a max 20 times digital there on the Galaxy S21. So let's go ahead and back all 3 of these out to 1 times here and on the iPhone. And let's go ahead and test autofocus on the post with the iPhone 13 Pro Max first, and really snappy focused and refocus away. And one more time here with the iPhone, really quick autofocus and pretty nice bokeh there. And let's go ahead and try with the Vivo now. Vivo, pretty snappy as well. You can see right there. Also nice shallow depth of field, natural background blur or bokeh. And one more time. And now let's go with the S21 Ultra. So a little bit maybe slower to focus there. Right there. And away and bring it back. So just getting the right focus distance and it snaps in no problem. And really good depth of field, shallow depth of field as well. Let's go ahead and start walking to test stabilization on the stairs. You see how the stabilization compares across all 3 at 4K on these 3 different phones, and I'll go ahead and jog to stress the stabilization out and see how they all 3 do here. And we'll pull up here and pan up into the sky to see how each of these cameras handle the changing lighting conditions here in the afternoon sun. Everyone, this is going to be a front-facing camera test on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, Vivo X70 Pro Plus, and Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. As you can see, they all are recording from the front-facing camera right now. They are at their max resolutions on all three, so that's 4K 60 frames per second on both the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the Galaxy S21 Ultra. The Vivo is at 1080p 30 frames per second there. That's its max resolution and frame rates. Also, I'm starting out at my usual testing spot out here in the park in some shade, which is some even lighting conditions, to give you a feel for what these cameras can do in some fairly optimal lighting without any kind of harsh sunlight on me right now. So I'll just go ahead and pan around so you can see how the video quality might change and how these cameras compensate into the changing light. So now that the sun is going to be directly behind me right now, you can see that it's blown out pretty much on all three, which is pretty common with some pretty intense bright direct sunlight like that, but it's keeping me pretty much exposed fairly properly here. So we'll keep going around so you can see what this looks like here on all three of these cameras, and we'll go ahead and start walking to test stabilization as well, so you can see that side by side on all three cameras here. So let me know what you think about the video quality here on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, Vivo X70 Pro Plus, and the S21 Ultra here, all from the front-facing camera. What do you think? Everyone, so here's a low light video test from the rear facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, Vivo X70 Pro Plus, and Galaxy S21 Ultra. This is the ultra wide angle lens on all three phones. This is being shot at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'm going to pan around here so you can get a feel for how these ultra wide angle compares side by side here on all three phones. Check out the color reproduction, how light or dark the scene is right now, and how they're doing with that really bright street light right there. So let's move into the main cameras now. And here are the main camera on all three. The Vivo does not let me switch between cameras while actively recording. The iPhone and S21 Ultra do. So I'm just going to pan around here with the main lens on all three so you can get a feel for what that looks like here side by side. And you can see the S21 Ultra flaring out that really bright light the most here of all three. And I'll pan around here, and again, all three of these main wide standard sensors are going to let in a lot more light, so everything's looking a lot brighter than the ultra wide angle cameras did. And let's go ahead and pan around this way, and we'll start walking to test stabilization, as well as to move over to a much darker area like I always do. It's always good to see what cameras look like in some pretty good light, and then how it compares and contrasts in a much darker area, much more difficult light. Also, as always, pay attention to the micro jitters that'll happen in the stabilization and low light. That's pretty common. And as you can see, as we round the corner, it is much darker out here, although all three are trying to brighten up the scene a little bit more. The Vivo seems to be controlling that the best. It's not super bright, but not super dark. And of course, when you do that, you get some noise here. As I pan up into the night sky, it's much more evident here, especially on the S21 Ultra. Vivo still looking the darkest and most controlled here in the viewfinder for me. And I'll pan over here where there's a mixed lighting situation down this darker alleyway, accented off the mixed lighting from the building there. You can see how these cameras look with that lighting and how they control it or flare it out. And there you go. That is your 4K low light video test on all three of these phones. So here's a front-facing camera test in some low light on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, Vivo X70 Pro Plus, and Galaxy S21 Ultra. The iPhone and S21 Ultra are both shooting at 4K 30 frames per second. They both can shoot up to 60 frames per second from the front-facing camera, but I'm keeping it at 30 because 60 tends to get too dark in low light. And the Vivo is at its max resolution and frame rate, which is 1080p, 30 frames per second. And so, as you can see here, I'm in my usual testing spot in some fairly ideal lighting conditions. So you can see what that looks like here in this type of a lighting area situation in a bit of low light here. You can see the really bright street lights around me. See what that looks like into the front-facing cameras. And the Vivo does not have any stabilization on the front-facing camera, so let's start walking and you can see what I mean. It's going to look a lot more shaky than the iPhone and the S21 Ultra, but I'll walk over to a much darker area, a little more difficult lighting situation, so you can see what it looks like and how that compares to the much better lighting back there. And of course I have a fountain to my right, so we can test out the microphones and how these microphones handle against that background noise there. And I'll also pan around this way so you can see what these front-facing cameras look like into the really bright street lights behind me. You can see right there, flaring them out a little bit, but those are super bright lights and most will. If anything, the S21 Ultra is flaring it out the most. And so let's go over here into the darker area. You can see what this looks like here in this darker area side by side from all three of these phones. The iPhone looks a little bit kind of weird on the colors right now, and the other two and all three actually are kind of brightening this up a lot more than what I'm seeing with my own eyes. S21 Ultra is looking a little more washed out, but that's pretty much going to do it, I think, for this camera comparison. So let me know what you think about how all three of these phones did and which one you preferred. I think in good lighting situations, they all did pretty well. It's going to come down to what colors you like and how they represent. I think the iPhone boosts up colors a lot, followed by the S21 Ultra. And the Vivo, even in auto mode, will do the same. But of course, Vivo, you have the Zeiss mode. If you like more natural looking colors, you can turn that on and get much more natural looking colors, not so much saturated colors there on the Vivo if you enable Zeiss mode. And also for video, I think the video still looks the most dynamic on the iPhone, and outdoor lighting conditions, it just looks a lot more detailed, a lot more dynamic than the other two. S1 Ultra still does look very sharp and clean, so I think that would be second. And the Vivo would be probably last for me as far as video performance. That's just not its strong suit, but it really does shine in low light like everyone says it does. X70 Pro Plus is probably the low light champion right now. It doesn't need any kind of light night mode, and photos just look fantastic. Really detailed and sharp. Lights are very well controlled in low light from the Vivo. So hands down Vivo best in low light, followed by S1 Ultra, and probably lastly iPhone for me. But that's just my brief summation of what I think about how these cameras performed, and based on what I tend to like to see. So let me know what you thought, because we all see things differently. I'd like to hear your opinions. Drop me a comment down below. If you have a question about any of these three phones that I can help answer, I'll try to answer what I can if you leave a comment as well. And as always, thanks for watching.